So, what are your hobbies? You ask a typical person that question, and they'll give you an answer of anywhere from 0 to 3 interests that they like to pursue. However, if you ask a gifted person that question, most likely, if they are not masking and are completely honest with you, you'll get an answer of at least 7 current hobbies, ignoring the dead ones, which I'll talk about later in the video. And that is just an evidence of a gifted person's insatiable curiosity, a drive to understand and know new things. Hi guys, I'm Kathleen Lewis, and yes, I am gifted. So I'll give you my own list of hobbies later in the video, but before I get there, let's talk first about what curiosity looks like on a day-to-day basis for a gifted person, as well as the problems, the issues that come alongside of this intense and obsessive curiosity. Now, before I get to my son and I, and by the way, my son is also gifted, there's a video I was watching on YouTube, an interview with another gifted person, and I'll put that down in the description so you can go and view that yourself if you're interested. But this gifted violinist, a professional violinist, was talking about her hobbies, and in there she said, yeah, and I decided a few years ago to pick up coding just because it was interesting to me. And the interviewer said, that is such a sign of giftedness right there. Picking up something just because it's interesting to you, not because you need to know it, not because you have a use for it, but just because. So for my son, one of the big ways he's showing his curiosity right now is verbal questions. Now, yes, that is developmentally what a 4-year-old typically does, but for a gifted kid, it's even more so. Just as an illustration for you, last fall we took a family hike, and on this hike I decided to actually write down for the entire hour we were out on the trail all the questions that my son was asking. So here they are, everything that came from my son within an hour's time. How can you drive in the fog? Does the sun have electricity? What's a ravine? What is erosion? Why are there mushrooms growing on that log right there and not that one over there? Why do trees sometimes fall down? How is a creek different from a river? What is bigger than a river? How are the ice crystals that make up rain made? He already knew that ice crystals were what formed rain in the beginning, but he wants to know how they were made. And how does the water get lifted up to the clouds? So as you can see from that hike, we had a lot of detailed conversations going on, and for this, it was solid conversation for an hour. Now, as a parent, your tendency will probably be, can you please just put a cork in it and give me a break? I have done that. I have asked him to just be silent while I'm trying to make dinner so I can actually focus on what I'm doing. But the truth is, we need to encourage this curiosity as parents, because some of the most famous discoveries came about from a curious mind. For example, Isaac Newton, he asked, why in the world is the apple falling down and not up and not to the side? So because of his curiosity, his inquisitiveness, we have gravity. Now, of course, you're going to have to learn how to balance this as a parent if you have an insatiably curious child like this. And teach your child when it's appropriate to ask these questions and when it's not. But I encourage you guys, as much as possible, tag team with any adult available and answer those questions to the child's satisfaction. Okay, so what about me? What does curiosity look like for me? Let's go on a bit of a field trip to my bedroom. Okay guys, so this is my nightstand and the pile of active books that I'm currently reading and rotating through. As you can see here, there's a variety. We've got the journals of Lewis and Clark. We have a couple of books that I'm pre-reading for my son, so the Sassafras Adventures, Anatomy. This is actually one that I'm pre-reading for curriculum, hopefully, that I'm going to share with you guys someday. The Turtles of Oman. I have the Physics of NASCAR, just because it was intriguing to me. And I'm going on an Einstein kick here soon, so I have a couple biographies I just picked up from the library. So that is what I'm actively reading, but there's a dead zone down here, which I'll show you. Okay, so here's my dead pile of books. This is what happens to a book from up there that I have not picked up for a few weeks. It goes down here to be read at some later date. This is actually a huge problem for gifted people. We're kind of tending to ADHD with our interests. Something sparks our curiosity, so we go chase it intensely. We check out 5 books from the library on the topic. We spend an entire weekend, no joke here, like 20 hours over the weekend, exploring this topic. And then something else sparks our interest, and we go off on something else. So that is a problem we have to manage and learn to manage maturely. So for me, this is how I manage it. If I don't read it for a couple weeks, it goes down here. If it sits down here for a few months, it goes upstairs to my pile of books upstairs. So yeah, down here I have a variety of stuff here. I have the Vinland sagas for when I was going on a Viking kick and wanted to read some actual Viking poetry. I have a few books on giftedness. I have the homegrown pantry, so about gardening and preserving food. A few books that I want to pre-read for my kid. Yeah, just a variety of stuff, even a parenting book down here. Now, this is not all the books I'm reading, so let me go show you that other pile. I showed you guys this cart a while back, but this is what I read from in the morning. Right now I've got Football for Dummies because, confession here, I know only the basics about football and kind of feel ignorant because of that. So I'm brushing up on all the rules. I've got History of the World map by map. I've got a book on neuroscience here, a book on astronomy. There's some books here that I'm pre-reading for my kid, a few books that I have for reference for school. So yeah, there's a lot over here too that I'm actively reading as well. Okay, so believe it or not, that's not actually my complete reading list too. There's one thing you may have noticed, an absence of fiction, and that's because I've migrated to my Kindle with that. And let me just scoot over here so I can put some stats up here. So yeah, Kindle. I've been reading a ton the last couple of years since I've discovered that. And this is where I get my brain break books. So these are the romances, these are the fantasies, these are the action and adventure type books that don't take a lot of mental energy to read. So I went through these like candy last couple years because I had a baby at the beginning of 2022. So yeah, I have a variety of interests there as well. Okay, so that's what I read. What about my hobbies? Well, first and foremost, I would say reading is a hobby. Also, researching. I love delving into topics and finding about why this happened or how that works. So I consider research a hobby too. I also love cooking, and not just cooking for the sake of getting good food, but why does this food taste better when cooked this way as opposed to this way? Cooks Illustrated and America's Test Kitchen are my new favorite best friends. I also love gardening, getting out there in the dirt, cultivating things, making them grow. I love to hike. I also love to play the piano. It's a great emotional release for me, dealing with those huge emotions, but it's not something I've been able to do since my kids have been born. Another hobby is sewing. I love that medium of creation, being able to create a garment that fits me perfectly. Another hobby of mine is teaching through YouTube. So yes, I enjoy researching, but I also enjoy sharing what I've been researching, what I've been learning. So that is my new outlet. That is my new hobby, helping you guys with what I've been learning. Now, I just listed off 8 hobbies for you that I actively pursue. And you may wonder, how in the world do I do all of those? And yes, that leads me to another issue with giftedness and curiosity. It is possible and actually quite characteristic for a gifted person to be sucked and consumed into a topic so that they ignore everything else. They ignore their responsibilities, they ignore relationships, they ignore their own health because they're so obsessed with this particular thing. Mad scientists come to mind, or maybe an artist that just gets sucked into their work. Or maybe you're thinking of the guy who never remembers to eat or sleep or bathe or anything. Albert Einstein, apparently, I found out recently, he was like that because he was so involved with thinking in his mind that he just didn't think about basic tasks. So that's a skill that you'll need to be aware of and cultivate within your kids, or if I'm talking to a gifted person, within yourself. I don't do that well all the time since I found out about my giftedness and I'm aware of the issue. It's been a lot easier. And I have a spouse to help me out with that as well. So, one of the things I do is to involve my family in my hobbies. So, we hike together. I get my kids outside to play while I garden. I talk about what I'm researching about at the dinner table with my family or when the kids go to bed with my husband. I read books while the kids play or at the playground or something like that. So there's ways to do these hobbies around life, and it's a balance that you're going to have to manage. Okay, so that was my active hobbies, and I referenced dead hobbies. What do I mean by dead hobbies? Those, in my definition, would be something you pursued consistently and with some level of excellence for, I'm going to put the cutoff, 2 years. That's just my default. I'm not talking about the 1 month you spent consumed with watercolors or the 2 months you were involved with your local woodworking guild. I'm talking about something that you pursued consistently for a while, achieved not professional level, but at least good level. Someone could look at your work or talk to you and say, yeah, they're beyond amateur with this. So here's my list of dead hobbies that I pursued over the years. I have cake decorating, I have raising beef cattle, photography, quilting, floral arranging, British literature, horseback riding, Western style, swimming, interior decorating, and napkin folding, just to name a few. And again, that does not list all the dozens and dozens of interests that I just picked up for a month and then put back down. Which leads me to another issue. How in the world do you, as a parent or you, as a gifted individual, manage monetarily or time wise or sanity wise, even keeping up with all these interests? I've got some ideas for you. Stick around, subscribe. I am going to put out a video soon, practical ideas, how you can do this without breaking the bank, without going insane, and yeah, keeping up with life. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to bump that like button and let me know it.